Do you like music? We like music too.
Do you punk?
Do you like waffles?
Do you like music, punk?
So, welcome to the weekly Radio Loud music review, where we have drastically different tastes in music, even when it comes to metal.
Yep.
Which is kind of crazy. You know, people usually blanket that shit together. But
different.
when I think of metal, and when you think of metal,
It's different.
you think of how to torture people. And I
Think of aliens.
I think of stuff that's so dense that
Sardines.
it's not really all that easy to comprehend almost. So this week I didn't pick any metal actually.
You picked techno artist Pogo.
I wouldn't even consider him.
He's an
Techno.
electronic musician, and he uses sound samples from
Now,
movies and video games or whatever else. Well, all the stuff I saw was movie bits. So he'll basically pick a movie or a TV show, because I know him from the Star Trek one.
Interesting way to perceive it, which isn't wrong. What I view him as, what makes him strike a note in my heart, and that's one of the things, like, I'm not super into Pogo. Like, I don't listen to Pogo in my car. And what I've been trying to do with these music reviews is to do something with a bit of a fresh perspective going into it. Because we were kind of really in the habit of drawing from the well of things we're familiar with. And that's not fucking interesting, you know? So generally, I've been almost leaving my music reviews to like the last minute. But recently, me and Stefan, just to drive conversation, have been pitching our music picks at the beginning of when we stop filming this episode. Over the next few days, we pitch each other ideas, and then we both kind of digest each other's picks throughout the next week, so we have more conversation. This just happened to fall into my lap because Pogo published a new song, which I felt was drastically different from a lot of his
the one you sent
other
me?
material. What was that?
That wasn't the one you sent me, was it?
I sent you Red Rum, I think.
Yep.
That was something he published within this last week, which was based on Stanley Kubrick's classic, The Shining.
Hence Red Rum. I mean,
Yep.
if you haven't seen the movie at this point, you're not going to.
So what Pogo does is he doesn't just take movies or media. He takes nostalgia and creates these bits of music. That it's sample-based music.
But it's all from, what I was meant to say was it's all from one piece. Mm-hmm. Like the Shining thing.
The Shining
it's
piece
all
was one
condensed
Shining
clips
piece.
only from The Shining. He doesn't bring in outside things.
But he takes samples from just one bit of media and puts them into a song. But the thing that I feel like transcends the piece of media he picks is that he's really adding something to it. He's creating a new piece of music that you can really get into. But it's also injecting that nostalgia into it. And it's not just nostalgia for nostalgia's sake. It's almost like a reimagining of like some of the elements that went into the original thing. What he's been really popular for is some of the Disney stuff, because Disney is
just wildly successful. I don't know where that came from. I don't know how they got so wildly successful.
Nazi gold. Disneyland. It's the theme park that they built that we would all be doing every Sunday night if the Nazis won the war.
Yep.
That's where Disney got his success. Let me just say I'm not a Disney fan. There's a lot
Blaskowitz, we need you. They've invaded.
There's a lot of good things that came from Disney as part of like pop culture, but just like the base Disney stuff, the musical shit, I'm just not into that. But a lot of people are. Like a lot of people love it. So that's where he kind of got his, not the first stuff that he did, but the first stuff he got really popular for.
Yeah, and he probably made it with that intention of people like Disney.
Now, I don't know about that because
Disney's musically inclined.
he might have had that strategy behind him, but one of the videos that I really like about Pogo from the last year is that he has a 10-minute video just outlining his process, nothing to do with his traditional music. He just talks about his process and advice if you are just looking to get into music. Because, to be honest, he's been extremely successful and he's been afforded the opportunity to branch out and try new projects. And he talks about that and talks about how you might not want to do that. He starts out in this video by talking about if you want to make music, you should take a look at if it's your passion or if you have a business plan for it. Because he had a passion for it and he just kind of got popular for it. And then when he started to go into the business side of it, he kind of realized
He was unprepared.
not unprepared. Like it,
Or just it was a
he
different
got
side.
popular and got money kind of thrown at him just through doing what he likes. He's one of the rare artists that get to do that. There's a lot of artists who get to do that, but it's rare that that happens. He talks about how if you make something, let's say this podcast, for instance, one of the things that I really don't like about it is having to seek external gratification. And that's how he puts it. It's not that you're essentially after external gratification for it,
Just whore yourself out there.
but you absolutely,
drop those pants and just whore yourself out on the corner.
if you want to make some money or bring your exposure past just
You
what
got
you're
to get out
passionate-
in the intersection with the sign that says,
You have to get out there. You have to fucking get down on your knees and start pleasing Jesus, okay?
you got to get out in the corner with that cardboard sign and say, follow me on...
Highway 9.
We'll pleasure your ears for trip to Highway 9.
One of the things that made him realize this was that he obviously was successful in his own right. So why would he have to do this? He started a Kickstarter campaign to go to a different country and film some, film stuff. I don't know the details about it, but I know he basically took a bunch of other people's money and he put it as, once I did this, I could hear the people tapping on their watches, expecting me to get something done and putting their own views of what the project that they paid for should be. And I really thought that was a great way of putting, when you pay somebody to do something, you
Need to
expect
deliver.
something.
Or they expect you to deliver
Yeah.
something, yeah.
So
Because that's how
business works.
that's how the market's supposed to work. I pay you for goods and services.
So
Like being a whore.
right.
Pogo. Do what I'm paying you for. Oh, that was the masses.
So he did this video about his writing process before he even got to the nitty-gritty of how do you write songs like me? What is my process like? The first thing he talked about was start out doing things for yourself, things that you love to do, and create from the heart. Kind of like a little Disney movie story. And I really appreciate that because I feel like where he started creating his music from came from a genuine
Desire.
place. Yeah. And that's what I feel like Pogo sells in a lot of his, not music, but the videos that go along with the music. Pogo has albums, but if you sit down and listen to a
I think
Pogo
he has
album,
2 though.
dude, he has like 8.
Really?
He has a bunch of albums.
Okay, he does. Okay,
I feel like,
he's got 7 albums and a ton
Okay,
of
yeah.
EPs.
but the thing is, when I picked my pick as Pogo, I was like, he doesn't so much have an album as he has a body of work. And I tend to feel like a Pogo album does not feel like a Pogo music video and song and video that goes along with it.
I mean, he did the Captain Jean-Luc, right?
Yeah.
That was my first exposure.
Right, because I
was a-
sent it to you,
it was a
and I was
beautiful
like,
thing.
this thing makes me feel so good. And it goes back to what he is creating. He is making...
Did you send it to me? I thought I was watching that in high school. That's old.
No, that's not that old. That's like a year old.
Really? I thought me and
No,
Aaron
no.
used-
Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the USS Enterprise, that's not Pogo.
Oh, the other, I don't remember the other one.
No, you're thinking of Data and Picard. You know, the "Come cheer up, my lads, come cheer up, my lads."
Oh no. I
He-
was thinking that it was a completely different song.
But that's what he does. That's what he takes bits of nostalgia from things that people have watched and is beloved, and then he creates this piece of media that just brings it all swelling back to you in this just flood of emotion and reinterpretation. It just makes you feel good.
I like the warm fuzzy feeling that Pogo gives you.
I didn't before because he was doing exclusively Disney things. So the first thing that really turned me on to this guy as like, I'm going to subscribe to this guy, I'm going to watch what this guy cranks out, was a song called Data and Picard, where he takes 2 songs that each character sings in the actual episodes.
And then
He even prefaces the episode. This is like one of the few Pogo videos where he actually puts himself in front of a green screen and dresses up as the characters. Like he is in a Star Trek uniform. He paints himself like Data. He doesn't shave himself bald like Jean-Luc because that would just be, asinine. But he starts it out as like, back in my days at the Academy, before every toast, we'd sing a song.
And then they
Sing the song. And that just brought me back to days where, you and myself
Yeah, I got
were
some-
sitting on the couch
watching Next Gen.
watching Next
Nailing
Gen.
the percussion on the intro there.
And his latest
Here's the
song
pictures.
that came out this week. Yeah. Now, the thing is, look at these shots. This is how the music video looks. He looks like he's lit like the background. That's just in front of a green screen
That's
in
just
his
good,
place.
That's
He
just
looks
good
like
lighting.
he's right in it.
because they have very strong overhead lighting.
So what prompted me to pick him was he came out this week with Red Rum. I just got a push notification on my phone. I was like, oh, Pogo came out with a new song. This was something much darker than I'd ever seen because it was based on The Shining. And it was very clever the way he, I'm a slut for Aphex Twin and breakbeats, stuff like that. He basically made like this more rapid breakbeat, dark song.
With the rapid tap taps and the axe and the...
Yeah, he had Jack Nicholson with the camera underneath him tapping on the door.
Yep.
Just like that's where he took his like little percussive, like him pounding on it for the bass and then just tapping his fingers for all the other drums. I thought it was very, very cleverly done. Much more evil than his body of Disney work. Just imagine me
Yeah,
as this
because
like,
how dark I get you How dark can you make Disney?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what I have to say about Pogo.
I enjoyed it. I totally thought that he did.
What did you check out to, kind of do your research? Because I just left it open-ended. I was just like, Pogo.
I kind of just had it playing in the background when I was doing some stuff.
Now, I have to admit, like, a lot of his stuff is kind of similar. Like, the way he chops up his samples is similar. But he does his similar, like, sample chopping, but writes different tonalities of song.
Let's see. I kind of just had it on. Don't stop.
Yep, can't do that.
Yep.
Nope.
I had it just on.
Oh, you just put like a...
I played the Red
longer
Rum when you
playlist.
sent me, and then it just kind of went. So I definitely heard Happy. And then I must have been stuck on Ascend. I must have just been listening to the Ascend album.
So if there is... if there's any songs I could tell the listeners to check out, it's Data and Picard, Red Rum, and from The Odd Couple.
Can you spell that, please?
Go back to the Pogo's page there. It's
I've heard the groove.
FMA.
FMAA.
Yeah, that's one that older folks could get into. Like I think if I showed my dad FMA, I wouldn't need to explain anything to him.
I've heard
he would just know
Trumpular.
exactly what it is. It's Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau as the original Odd Couple.
I've seen Trumpular previously. I guess I was stuck on his album Ascend for most of this.
All right, Stefan.
That clocks in at a whopping hour, 40 minutes.
Let's talk about your pick this week.
So my pick was, I want to make sure I get to, I think they're from Ukraine.
Yeah, I didn't really get much from their history because most of it was in foreign language.
They're from Poland, it looks like.
Oh, it was close. I was guessing Russia, but no. So what is it, Stefan?
Batushka is a atmospheric black metal band that takes almost all of their influence and sample from Eastern Orthodox or Russian Orthodox choirs and church styles.
Now, yeah, I definitely loved that about it, is that they have these overarching ambiences going on
It's
behind
very
them.
It's very in the same way that a choir or chanting works. It's very more trance, or it more drives you into a trance or like a daze-like state, and then you go through it. But I really want to talk more about how this band kind of came out of nowhere when they first started. So remember, you've heard of the band Ghost? They have that little black mask, like
Yeah, and
light rocker type feeling going.
I didn't think that was going to come up this quickly, but when I looked to images of the band, yeah, it's just masks,
This band,
candles,
Yeah.
theatrics.
I have some pictures of the band here.
So they're kind of presented as cultish.
A cultist black mass style type deal, which arguably is not necessarily out of the realm of most black metal type things. But the thing with this band is when they first released, the release came out of nowhere. It was just pre-order this. It's coming out. They quickly got signed to Metal Blade.
But
none of the
they
members-
had to have a deal already going if they
None of
already
the
had
members
that
were
kind of
disclosed.
right.
It said it would ship in a large wooden crate with a vinyl, an album, T-shirt, all this other stuff. A couple people got the pre-orders. They never got their pre-orders. They were getting boxes with garbage in them, supposedly. This is what I read online. Now, I bought a T-shirt some time ago. I got my stuff quite fine, and also shipped from Poland. I didn't have any issues with it. So I didn't have any issues with that. But then people were saying that the samples were taken from a Russian Orthodox just stock album that you could purchase off Amazon. There was a lot of drama going on that this was simply an endeavor by these musicians who, when it came out who they were, their previous metal bands being drastic, not being good, not being able to go anywhere, but just showing that we can easily do a commercial endeavor that will draw a viewer base, which wasn't untrue. They're successfully touring with actually a couple bands right now on the East Coast, and they got signed by Metal Blade, and their music isn't overly complicated in any way whatsoever.
But the thing is, being their masked individuals coming out of nowhere with the kind of media machine behind them to get people to pre-order and buy, they had to have been somebody that had done something already to prove to whoever was behind this to make the investment that they could pull this off. And this initial part of the mystery had to be part of an investment for them to build this kind of repertoire behind them. But it had to have been somebody that knew what they were doing.
Now
before.
the main members of the band have since been identified. The vocalist, I can't do their names right now. They're under pseudonym on. They're under pseudonym on Metallum, but Bart, Durf, and Jotzo.
like fucking Goog from Mudvayne.
Yeah. So, just as a reminder, this album came out in like 2015. But Bart, the singer, was in a band from 1994 to 2008 called Herm. Overall, you're going to find terrible reviews on it. It was a terrible band, according to most review sources. I've tried to listen to it. It was not for me. Their guitar and bassist, the guy that plays the 8-string BC Rich for some reason, I don't know your thoughts on that. I don't think he needs that much.
I didn't delve that far. I didn't feel like diving that far into this band was that necessary.
Yeah. I don't know if he even really necessarily needs that, but he only had one band before that named Heurissus. They dropped one album. And then,
now, was that the V-style BC Rich, or was that like the BC Rich BC
this one.
Rich?
He's got this big boy.
Okay, yeah, I thought that's what it was.
He's got this massive.
You know, sometimes you should just leave it on the Google image.
Yeah, you got that right. But then they have their drummer who's been in 2 bands, In Extremis and Altercated. I don't know much of those bands. So I mean, yeah, you're right. They have some previous musical experience, but it was a drop, man. It came out of almost nowhere, to my recollection of the history of it. And overall, I think it's pretty wildly enjoyed, or not wildly, but overall, I think it's enjoyed. My question is more how the next release is going to go, because
when was this released again?
2015.
So it's fairly new.
Yeah, but then almost immediately after it dropped, they got the signature to Metal Blade. So there's got to be another album coming out here at some point. But my main question is how that's going to go.
That I was thinking about this.
It's such a novelty.
I was thinking about this earlier about people who write music and then people who do like a medium like this, because I've done both now. It's so much harder to write music, and the amount of it's classically been talked about is how there's no money left in music anymore, you know? And looking at the body of content and how long it is, you know, we're doing, not that we're making any money on this, but there are a lot of people who are doing, you know, an hour at the minimum to 3 hours, multiple times a week in this kind of format. Whereas in a album, you have to put so much thought into writing a piece of music for a half hour even.
Now, with this band touring, I'm sure they don't use this full ensemble for the recording, but there's 11 people on tour for this, with the choir, the drums, the singer.
Is it
the
really
guitarist.
bringing in the numbers for that? Jesus.
I don't know, but it reminds me of when this first started out, people were like, I didn't get anything in my pre-order box, yada, yada, yada. Now, I don't know if those are necessarily authenticated things that happen, but it kind of, when I heard about this, the size of the band, I was like, is this like a Polka King type scam where it's just like, it's like guys, we're going to do it big. And they're just, it's almost a scam off the top.
The thing is,
Probably not.
I would think not, because
Especially with their on Metal Blade now.
The choir, you originally said it was from an album that you could buy for, samples.
Rumor had.
Rumor.
I can't confirm any of that stuff. I've
Rumor
only seen
has
it around. Yeah, rumor has it.
I would think that those people would be hired and fired as needed, because you're not going to be paying that many people throughout the entire body of the work. As business is business, I would think those extra slots would be filled and unfilled as quickly as possible.
I'm trying to see how many people are there. I think it's actually 8 people touring. That's still a sizable amount of people.
Yeah,
to be dragging around on a
like
tour.
Periphery was doing 6.
That's a ton.
That's a lot of people.
But with rumors and all this other stuff, and obviously the drive seemingly, and I accept towards a commercial and theatrical more style performance, I accept that. What did you actually think of the album?
Of the album, well, I said, unfortunately, I didn't make it all the way through, but I liked the chants. Like, out of all the stuff that I liked the way it was put together, but I liked the chants the most of all. And from what you had made it sound like, they didn't even write that. I thought it was cool as part of the sound aesthetic.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true. I have a feeling it's not, because the rumors that were substantiated around it were just like, well, I had my Zapster. What's the thing that detects songs? I have one on my phone, but there's an app program.
Oh, Shazam.
Yeah, it's like, I had my Shazam open and it linked me to this. But other people have tried to replicate that, and that, from what I read online, and that's not 100% true. But I thought I'd stoke some fire under the table just to make things interesting.
It seems like there's a lot of things that are surrounding this band's narrative that maybe were intentionally put there to create disillusion, which in this era, it's not that uncommon. Like in the more exciting narratives of horror, it's no longer done in books. It's kind of done online, and it's kind of done in a way where it's pitched to people, is this real or is this not? Until they realize, oh, this is actually somebody who is creating a fictional narrative, but through the guise of it being real.
Yeah. Now, like I said, I didn't delve too deeply. I did order some T-shirts, and they came fine. I ordered the T-shirts a while ago.
Now, you guys have, you, or maybe Sean, RAP, has shit on me for pre-ordering games. I would never in a million years
pre-order an album or something. I didn't do that.
Album, no.
I did not do that, though. I didn't pre-order their album. I just bought a T-shirt.
Even as like a musician, I don't think I'd ever put an album up for pre-order. I
don't see why I wouldn't do it, but I'm saying I don't see why I wouldn't put an album up for pre-order, but I don't think I'd pre-order an album. I'd always, when we had music stores, R.I.P. music stores and
right.
Best Buy, I'd go in there, I'd hit the buttons, see what's on the album, and then I'd make my selection.
That thing had that album's already been sold. That album that you were viewing in an album store had already been pretty much selected, because that's how you got music, by the music gods that be, that this was the one that we were going to put
in the music
here.
box. I
This
understand
no
that.
longer exists.
Now you go to YouTube, you get the rip copy, you give it a couple jams, and then if you're going to buy it, you pick it up. Although in this day and age, not a lot of people are even doing that. So
Now, I personally kind of think we're better off, because we are systematically killing off the industry that is
the gods that the old gods that be
Yeah.
that you were speaking of.
the
Yes.
old gods, the old Cthulhu's, basically the leeches
Putting
that have
fucking
their
brains
tentacles.
parasites on people and telling you what to think. Yeah.
That was one of the things whenever
Manipulating the charts.
my dad brings up this documentary called The Wrecking Crew. He used to. He doesn't anymore, but I remember he used to bring it up, and he used to talk about how he would watch it all the time. And I never watched it because I was just kind of disgusted by the principle of it.
Practices.
It was
the lack of ethics and morality.
It was basically about a group of musicians who were just studio musicians that were making all of the studio recordings of the time. Some execs knew a formula for music, and they would attach. It's like Milli Vanilli, except in the 60s. They would have this group of musicians record the music, and then they would attach the name to whatever they were trying to sell. And that, to me, was just so perverted. It's taking art and just sucking the marrow out of it. And through being a musician, hearing that as part of the history of modern recording and how things have transpired, it just makes me so
deflated
sick.
and nauseous and physically ill.
It's like I knew that was part of it, because there's been very similar stories about that, with part of Sumerian, with part of
all kinds of stuff. It was even on Unsolved Mysteries, man. There was a murder about it. I could launch into that, but I want to wrap up with this Litgouriya, I think is how you say the album. Basically, you're going to get these Russian Orthodox chants. You're going to get a trancey, droney guitar part that'll build up into a swell, and then you get a really simplistic rhythmic break, and then it'll go back and do it again. You get that over the course of the album.
And then at the end, Yoko Ono goes, "Yeah! Thank you. You've been good."
But don't you want to talk about the Unsolved Mysteries thing? It's a murder case.
Oh, yeah.
So what happened?
Okay, you want to do this? We're going to translate into this, because we totally missed out on talking about Elon Musk. But let's talk about this.
We could do that. Okay, so this Unsolved Mysteries case was this man is found gunned down in the street.
Now, this was an actual episode of Unsolved.
An actual episode. This
Okay.
is the good ones with Robert Stack and some
Now,
of the originals.
I just wanted to say, Unsolved Mysteries, the subreddit, they won no part of recounting or like personal conversation of this.
Oh no.
And it's kind of unfortunate, because that's like a dead subreddit.
Yeah, they just repost the old cases every once in a
Yeah,
while.
it show's over. Like,
Yeah.
what do you people want?
Okay, so the case is a man is found gunned down in the street. His friend then calls in, says that they were attacked the night before by a gunman. He recounts a small story of they were hanging out, they were walking to his car, and this guy comes up, yelled something at them. I don't recall what it was at the time, and then starts shooting. And he was lucky. The one man died, and the guy that got away was lucky to have survived. He was pretty badly shot and wounded. I think he got shot twice. And it comes to the light that the man that was shot and killed was working for a like top 100 country ranking system. You know, like how they have a top 40 of pop. That's like what's going to be on
Yeah.
Kiss FM. He was working for a country one. And there were some rumors, and in the weeks leading up to his death, he was talking to his family. He's like, I got to make some decisions. I got like a hard choice coming up in my life. And there were rumors that he was fixing the top 100 ranking system. They couldn't find evidence of this. The case kind of fizzled. I think 30 years later, it turns out that he was gunned down because he would refuse to fix the rankings for the country ranking system. He was doing what he felt...
The honorable thing.
He was doing the honorable thing, and one of the record dealers didn't like that. He wanted the few... Because he was basically taking money from artists, like exorbitant amounts, to get them up to the top, and then he was trying to force his hand on this guy writing the ranking system, and he fucking killed him for it. It was so slimy. Turns out the guy thought he was like a mafia don. He like fixed one of his henchmen on him. It was just this gross story of abuse of power, pushing the ethics, and trying to force money and music all into one bastardized abomination of trying to tell people what they need to be listening to.
Now, I wouldn't say that with, unfortunately, with, Mac Miller dying today. I wouldn't say that his music was so prolific that somebody would kill him to gain the rights. Am I wrong? I don't know, because I'm not that into Mac Miller.
What are you trying to say? You got Tupac?
Yeah, something like Tupac, something like the Jimi Hendrix story, something like Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, where, they're the 27 Club, but more so like killing somebody before they have the wherewithal in them to destroy their career. So whoever owned the rights to them could just sell them
it off
into legendary status, for the rest of their days, and they'll never have.
Well, now they just turn you into a fucking hologram. That's just fucked up.
But that's the thing; they wouldn't need to turn these people into hologram, because the Doors still beloved to this fucking day. I think you kids out there, young bucks that aren't listening to us, listening to the Doors.
The future will be holograms of all your favorite artists performing to you live in your living room with your pants off. Gut out. It's the future. So what was this Elon Musk thing you want to talk about?
Actually, let's end the regular show, and let's end the stream, and then let's do a little addendum. So if you want to hear this, it'll come out in a video a little bit afterwards, because this has to be talked about. It's just some juicy material. But let's take a little break, or just the end. If you're streaming this, catch it on the YouTube later.
Goodbye. This is the end.
My beautiful friend. The end. Actually, we should just like, Mother, I want to fuck you. Fuck you. Ah!